go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll get started with a roll call. McKee here, Lanterman
Here.
Varenkamp
Here.
and Nichols.
Here.
And Councilor Friedrich has another commitment tonight, I believe, so she won't be here. If you'd like to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Agenda approval. Looks like we had a couple things added and modified. I got 6O, 6P, 4A, and then 6C modified.
That's correct. No other changes, Mr. Mayor.
Anything from council? Okay, if not, then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then we will go on to a presentation regarding the DNR grant in 20 years.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, go ahead. Bring that up. So Mayor and Council, we yesterday came in the DNR grant, and we didn't realize that it had been 20 years that the city has been partnering with the Northwest Trails Association since 2006. So that's grant is on the consent agenda today, but the grant for $42,997, a little bit less than some of our past years, and some of the mileage looks like it's gone down a little bit as there's been adjustments, but still pretty remarkable that the city of Corcoran has been the hub for helping facilitate all the snowmobile trails in Hennepin County for 20 years. So with that, a quick little history lesson. Northwest Trails Association has been in existence in Corcoran for 52 years. And so as the whole northwest suburb has continued to change, they have changed with the times. There was a different city that was partnering with them, and as that city developed out, Corcoran became the partner that helped facilitate the grant in 2006. And they're still maintaining almost 140 miles of trails. Important to note, in the last couple weeks, as they were putting in a trail section just south of the Bellwether community, there's been some conversations and concerns as far as the proximity of the trail and is the trail authorized. And so I just wanted to touch on that for a minute. This segmented trail has been going through there for roughly 20 years. It modified in 2019 as a result of the Bellwether development, which came in 2018. And so if you see on there, this section right here is the section that we're in question. That section is still roughly the same as it's been, but it used to, for this window of time, it went north through what is now the Bellwether community up to Steeg Road where it connected. In 2022, that shifted, and because of development happening in Bellwether, it no longer went north, and it shifted to 116 to go up along 116. But this segment through the Oswald and Ebert properties have been in existence for quite a few years. And so the proposal that we've worked with Northwest out of concern there is that the trail was going right here along this section is to try and reroute it through the trees. There's a couple of challenges in rerouting it through the trees. One, the property owner has to agree to it. And I do want to point out that the Oswald farm is a century farm that's been operating in the city for more than 100 years. And so they've had trails going across their property since the Northwest Trail Association has been operating. So 52 years going across the property. So in collaboration this past weekend, I want to thank Steve Hoig with the association who worked with me, met with Kevin Oswald, the property owner, and then also we got a contractor out there this weekend. And they were able to work out the potential of running this through, as routed there, through the property. It's $1,500, and the association operates off the grant. They don't have any excess dollars, so a request would be that the city use charitable gambling in order to cover this unforeseen expense for the association, and so that has also been added to the agenda for today. And it is an authorized cost under statute. It's an approved expense code number 13, and I specifically highlighted there for snowmobiles and grant and aid trails. And so you'll be able to decide on that when it comes up on consent, but I did want to just pause for a second and say thank you to the Northwest Trails Association for being great partners for 20 years, and then just once again demonstrating that as our city's changing, their flexibility and adaptability to the realities of our changing environment is much appreciated. And so I wanted to specifically call out Steve Hoy, who's the trail captain of this section and has been for 40 years. And also Randy Bodler, who is a resident and is the treasurer. So I want to invite them both to come up to the microphone for a second and say something. Randy?
There is a 5-minute time limit. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, you know me well, Randy Bodler. Need my address and everything too?
Nope.
I just want to thank everybody. You know, it says 20 years, but that was when the grant program changed. Before that, we've been here 53 years. And in that 53 years, we've had a lot of challenges, obviously with the growth of the city. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more challenges with time to come. But we've been able to overcome them. The biggest reason that we're able to overcome those obstacles is our willingness to work with our city, working with our DNR, working with our police department, working closely with our landowners, working closely with our adjacent landowners, making sure they're happy. We will bend over backwards to make sure that everybody is comfortable. And I understand with this trail realignment, it was really only bothering probably 3 homes, I think, along back there. But if I were living in one of those homes, I wouldn't like it either. Noise isn't as much of a problem anymore, but having lights coming through my backyard constantly at night, I would not like that. So I completely understand. And being a small organization that we are, we don't have the funding we don't have the budget for something like this. And it was a last minute change, something, and thanks to Steve's hard work, he was able to get something moving and got a hold of someone that can do the work and do the work right now. Tree people are, you know, especially that type of work. It's, you know, feller bunchers aren't exactly numerous in the city of Corcoran. But the Deans, everybody knows the Deans family in the area, really stepped forward and were willing to help us out with this because they're fantastic with our members of our club. We also have a few members that live in Bellwether, so they chose not to be here today for obvious reasons. They didn't want to stir any pots. But again, to reiterate, I want to thank you guys very much for helping us out.
And Randy, if you could come on up here quick, actually. I do have something for you. I just wanted to give it to you on behalf of all of us and the city. It's just for your service to the community over the years, and we really appreciate it.
See, I told you it'd be worth your time to come tonight.
Those are rare. Only so many of them were made, Randy.
I want to thank Jay for listening, understanding the challenges that we face as a snowmobile club here, and not just Corcoran, but all over. I want to thank Todd and Kevin Oswald especially, because without landowners, there isn't a trail. We've got to have landowners to make this work, and they were very understanding, very cooperative in getting this through the trees. They didn't have to say yes, but they did, and I certainly do appreciate it. So we don't take our landowners for granted. Yeah, there are 3 up there, but in talking with Jay, we knew the houses weren't going to stop, that they were going to keep going right along that property line. They're working on more as we speak here, and some of them are even closer to the trail than the first 3. So we just figured, let's be proactive, let's find a way to get through this, and we also know that who knows what next year is going to bring. You know, we know both pieces of property are being eyed, and with the 610 exit on the County Road 30 now, that's going to change things out here. We'll have to keep working together and see what's coming down the road and deal with it as it comes. But Mama G's has been a stop on the snowmobile trail since the snowmobile trail started. And it's not only a place for people to stop for a burger or a beverage. People come out with their trailers and they park there. and they offload and they take off the rest. So it's very important to have that place out here. So I want to thank everybody on the council, Jay again, and you won't hear me say this very often, but I'm hoping it doesn't snow tonight because we have a lot of work to do yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, Mayor and Council, if I could have a couple other things that I wanted to talk about that are adjacent to this. So Steve brought this up, that the community's changing, and so I just want to proactively take this opportunity to communicate that with it changing, Steve just alluded to it, the properties that are on the southern border of Bellwether, we've had applications come in the last year twice. They haven't come to fruition. We don't currently have any active applications. But there are some that are in the hopper that could potentially be active applications here really soon. And so I just wanted to make sure that anybody who's watching, anybody who's here, understands how those two properties are guided, and they've been guided that way for 30 years. They're guided for the property on the left, which is kind of a light pink, that is guided business park. And there's some, I'll have this added to the packet, so if somebody wants to go, it's small writing. But ultimately, we've had the most recent application that came in was some smaller warehouses. Council gave some feedback that wasn't exactly what they'd envisioned on this site. So there's some things here for business park that it could mean, but what it's going to mean is not field, and it's not going to be natural area, and it's going to have some activity on it. So that's on the horizon for the Oswald property. To the right of that, when you head east, that's guided mixed use, which means 50% of that is going to be commercial property with activities, whatever that could be, and the commercial property can be everything from restaurants to retail to a whole lot of things in between, and a little bit higher density residential. And so both of those properties, as I said, we've had developers come in here within the last year, so I just want to, in the spirit of communication, make sure, because as folks have been concerned about the proximity of this, those are going to go right up to the property line, and although there's buffers, there's going to be activities happening in the backyard, and I don't want anybody to be confused about that. So that's one thing in the spirit of communication. The next one is collaboration that I wanted to bring up. The city has established some core strategies in terms of what we're trying to do. Enhance our sense of place and identity, provide amenities and recreational opportunities like snowmobiling. Here's an example tonight. But also we're doing some upgrades to the parks, and we have other park development on the horizon. Maintain excellence and safety and security for the community, ensure high-quality, market-driven growth, which is what we're talking about here, and provide high-quality, innovative municipal services. In the spirit of collaboration, I also want people to understand that we have 5 fantastic council members up here, and when someone sends an email to all 5 of them, they send them to one person, and that's me. So I am the person, if you have a question, I would recommend that you consider 2 different strategies. One, find your favorite council member and talk with them, because the 5 of them would break the open meeting law if they talk not at the dais. So I'm not sure you understand that. If you email all of them, they can't have an email exchange talking about the issue. That actually violates statute. They can only talk about it in here. And so they talk to me, and then I talk to you, and then I talk to each of them. That's how it needs to happen in terms of statute. Another thing is, on all the emails, for those that did send emails, I said, please feel free to give me a call, and I'm always happy to sit down and talk with somebody. An example where I think that's worked really well is in the Bellwether community on the Hunters Ridge side. We had 1 or 2 people that kind of served as the advocates for concerns regarding that. And so then I was able to talk with those folks, and then they were able to get the messaging out. Because the truth or the communication doesn't change. And if we can build those avenues of collaboration. On the same side, on the Hunters Ridge side of things, where that community's been there since 1992, they had concerns about what was happening with Hunters Ridge. They had 1 representative. And so it just helps in terms of communication and collaboration if you have a champion for your issue, rather than, I had about 20 folks on this particular concern, and for my time it's very difficult for me to solve a problem when I'm trying to communicate with 20 different people on the same issue. And so I would just ask in terms of a collaborative spirit, come and talk to me, and that might be a way that we can get faster answers. And then the last one is I want to invite everybody. We have some needs in the community. We're not just a growing community, but some of the things that make Corcoran distinct, like the Corcoran Lions and the Corcoran JCs, they need people. We need people on the right-hand side. You see our reserves, our police reserves. We're recruiting all the time. And then with our activities, we will be out and about here on December 9th, Tuesday the 9th, for our holiday toy and food drive. I'd ask you to consider participating in that. It has a dramatic impact on our community in terms of those who are food vulnerable and trying to provide Christmas gifts for those who don't have access. And then on the far left-hand side, Night to Unite is a great party, both the neighborhood parties and the collaborative city party. And then last, next year is an election year, and we need election judges. And so if you want to serve, consider stepping up and applying to be an election judge. Bottom line, we're better together, and the community needs more people stepping up and helping serve. And if you've got skills, we've got needs. So consider coming to help us. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
If I may,
Yeah.
to that, Jay, thank you very much, Jay. I've been saying it a long time. We can't continue being a community without having these volunteers. A lot of these volunteers are getting very, very experienced in what they do, and at some point they aren't going to be able to keep doing it. New residents, all of those folks, the more volunteers we have, the less each volunteer needs to do, if that makes sense. From fire, we don't have firefighters up here. We've got 3 departments, all of them volunteer-based and such. We need that immensely. So tell your friends, challenge them, see if they've got extra time. Be amazed how much fun you'll have. So, thank you.
All right. And with that, then we will go on to open forum for any items that are not on tonight's agenda. If anyone would like to speak, now is the time, and Jay can walk us through that.
Yeah, so invite anybody who would like to. You can fill out a public comment card, step up to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record, address the dais for the mayor and council. It's an item that's not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 to 5 minutes. And at this time, we won't be solving the problem, but we're happy to listen in order to consider how we can move forward. Mr. Mayor, we received 1 comment card from Ms. Deb Stockhill.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for providing this forum for us to share our concerns. After what we've already heard from the Northwest Trails Association and about the Bellwether Snowmobile Trail, I'm not sure I have to say too much more. But what I will say is thank you in advance, and I'd like to share a little bit of my perspective. So you had mentioned that you thought that there were 3 affected houses at the south end of Bellwether. You must not have been there in the last month because about 13 more houses have gone up that are directly adjacent to the trail. So it's not just a few of us that are concerned. I'm actually one, and 2 other folks here tonight sit right on that snowmobile trail. I am the person who has the direct line of sight to Mama G's at the corner of the trail. And while our concerns are not at all about snowmobiling. Snowmobiling is an important part of Minnesota culture. Our concern is the proximity of the trail to our homes. For me, the trail is approximately 60 feet from the edge of my property, about 100 feet from my bedroom window, which is where those lights would come across the field to me. I have no concerns about a family toddling along the trail on a Sunday afternoon. What I do have concerns about is an impaired driver that might be coming across that open field at 50 miles an hour at 1 o'clock in the morning and might miss that sharp turn because it's dark and there are no lights out there and come directly into my yard or my home or my bedroom. And I don't think that is an issue that is improbable. We know that there are limits to speed and laws against drinking, but we also know that people don't always abide by those. So that's my primary concern. My secondary concern is this. When I moved into this property, I was not told that there was a snowmobile trail basically in my backyard. Unlike Pulte, who did not disclose to me that there was a snowmobile trail, I would be legally required to disclose that if I were to try to sell my property in the future. I fear that regardless of the level of activity that actually occurs on the trail that we might know about, that if someone saw that on a disclosure, that would severely diminish the pool of potential buyers for me, would extend the time that it took to sell the property, and would ultimately reduce the value that I would receive for the property. So that is a concern of mine as well. I moved to Corcoran looking for a peaceful place to live and work. I paid a significant lot premium to have an open area next to my home and a wild area across the street. I back up to that cornfield. I have loved living there. I get to see egrets and wild turkeys and deer and other wildlife in my yard every night. I also understood that because it's an undeveloped area, that potentially at some point in the future, there would be development there. I didn't expect a snowmobile trail in my backyard with a speed limit of 50 miles an hour that could be used up until 1 o'clock in the morning. So that is my concern, and I'm greatly appreciative of everyone's willingness to consider this and to make this change that would engender a great deal of goodwill and neighborliness among Bellwether and amongst the association and the city and the landowners. Just a separate note, I'm a CPA and I work with nonprofit organizations. I help them with things like risk management and helping to ensure that they carry the appropriate level of insurance. If I were to, as an objective outside observer, look at the Northwest Trails Association trail at this point, I would consider factors like we've talked about, which is their responsibility for the trail, the proximity to a relatively populated area now, the speed limit of 50 miles an hour, the ability to use the trail until 1 o'clock in the morning, and the direct access to a bar. Those are the factors I would consider, and
One quick second here. Can I get a motion to extend her time?
So moved, couple minutes, please.
almost done.
Second?
Thank
All
you.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I would recommend to the association to mitigate that risk as much as possible. And with this plan that's in place, it takes care of that. So thank you very much for your time and attention and for addressing our concerns the way you have. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any others? Anyone else?
Do I need to give it to somebody?
You can give it to Jay, that'd probably be easiest.
So my name is Michael Ball. I am one of
I
the,
need a comment, Carter.
oh, comment card, I fill one out.
Yes.
I'll go first. Yeah, might as well.
So, first of all, I want to say I appreciate the Northwest Trail for considering moving that through the woods. My
Can you say your name and address?
my name is Kevin Golden. I live at 10069 Mulberry Lane in Bellwether. I'm not as close to the trail as some of the other people here, but it's still a concern. And one of my thoughts is the trail goes along 116 anyway. We know that those areas are going to be developed in the future. Why couldn't the trail just continue to 116 to County Road 30 and then go to Mama G's? Because it seems inevitable that that's what's going to happen. over the years as those other properties get developed. If you just do it now, then that pain is gone.
So part of it's terrain, if you look at it. There's significant terrain issues. And there's safety issues going across. Yeah. Yeah.
So if it used to be there, it maybe could still be there.
Yeah,
Either way.
hey, guys,
Try to direct
we're
it.
listening to him.
Okay.
He's talking to us.
All
Please.
right, so that was my one of my concerns, because it seems like if that area gets developed, it's not gonna be able to go through the area that you're putting it through now, even through the trees. The second thing I wanted to address was, well, I'm curious, how many people on this council, including the mayor, how many of you own snowmobiles and how many of you drive on those trails? And I don't know if I can get a raise of hands to answer that question, but I am curious about that. And finally, you know, she talked about the time up till 1 o'clock in the morning, the speed at 50 miles an hour, but I can't understand how there could be any enforcement of that. What's gonna stop people from going 70 miles an hour? What's gonna stop them from going at 3 o'clock in the morning? Just because you have those rules, we know the people come and go as they please, so those are my concerns. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Nope.
So,
I'd like to reach out to them separately.
So, it's just a moment. It's actually an item on the agenda, so the
Okay.
question, how do you?
It's an agenda item.
Item 6F.
Okay, so typically it's for items not on the agenda is what open forum is for.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
Well, yeah, I'm just requesting it be removed off the consent agenda to be discussed.
Okay, we can consider that when we get to consent.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? With that, we'll move on to. Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, if I may please first. Again, folks, the snowmobile and stuff is part of Corcoran, okay? These gentlemen have done a great job rerouting, doing all this stuff. It can't be immediate. We have more people probably speeding through and driving through our community than any snowmobiler ever will, okay? Yes, it can be dangerous, but anything can be dangerous in our community. I will support our snowmobile folks. They are doing a lot of things to police a lot of these things. They had a complaint. They've jumped through hoops to take this, talk with landowners, as they've said in their presentation, to reroute and make it better. But I'm, as a council member, is gonna continue these kind of activities through our city as long as possible, okay? I don't want to do anything to personally attack, but Bellwether wasn't Bellwether. We had neighbors, we had the folks at Hunter's Ridge, the people up along Steve Grove did not want Bellwether in because they live next to a farm. The farmer, the landowners have rights, and us as a city is to grow this city in a responsible way and respectful way. So I want to welcome the Bellwether folks. Thank you very much for purchasing these properties. Your neighbors might not have been too nice back in the day, however long ago Bellwether started and Amberley and those kind of things. But these men and women are working really, really hard to enjoy. Ditch riding is the worst thing a snowmobiler can do, okay? It is wrong. Again, the traffic along County Road 30, those kind of things, that's not why you buy a snowmobile, okay? You buy a snowmobile to legally use trails, those kind of things. The 5% that break the laws and such, that's a whole nother conversation, and somebody will get them, okay? But I want folks to understand, the person that talked about it being 60 yards away, huge concern. These guys and gals jumped all over it. To be able to go through the trees, that wooded area, as a step to get away from, I think it's admirable that they worked that hard to do that. So, and again, I think John did, oh my God, what's your name? Jay summed it up very properly. These two areas are going to change. I know I spend a lot of time with neighbors in Bellwether. We don't want it to change. I've always said, then buy it, we'll find a farmer to farm it, okay? I don't think there's anybody in Bellwether that can afford the property to keep it open space. Deers, turkeys, all of the things that we're talking about, they probably weren't there when the Bellwether wasn't there because nobody saw them. So you've got a great place. It's a great place to live in Bellwether. Corcoran is a great place because of their diversity and everything we do. And for volunteers like this that do this, we're lucky to have all of the options to spend outside. So that's me on my soapbox. Thank you. I know you guys want to say something. I don't think you need to, but it's up to you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just make one comment about the development. So one of the challenges that Corcoran has for our taxpayers, and we're going to be talking about the budget this evening, is we need to diversify our tax base. We're primarily residential, and as a result, that means residents are carrying the bulk. By diversifying our tax base, that means we bring in commercial properties, we bring in industrial properties, and we're having a challenge doing that. These two properties are going to help diversify the tax base, bringing in other tax revenues beyond residential. So this is really critical to the future, and if I were a homeowner in Corcoran, I'd be really excited about when that's going to happen, because it's going to help my personal property tax bill.
Very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, we had one last comment card. Mr. Matthew, is it Clements? Chimento.
Close.
Sorry, my handwriting.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Matthew Chimento. My address is 6600 Carriage Way in Corcoran, so I'm a Ravinia resident. Living in Corcoran about 11 years. And just a comment, so I'm the current president of the Northwest Trail Snowmobile Association. So again, I very much appreciate this opportunity and everybody who's come in to speak on behalf of the trails and bring this conversation up. So I'll just say, to address some of the comments and things, about snowmobiling, I guess, I think I represent, what is kind of the future of snowmobiling in Minnesota. I'm probably on the lower end of the age range of people who are getting actively involved in snowmobiling or in the snowmobiling community and trying to keep these traditions going forward. I was previously a resident actually of Maple Grove, and one of the reasons I chose to move to Corcoran was because of the access to the snowmobile trails. Many of the residents of the Ravinia neighborhood actually are snowmobilers, and similarly were residents or wanted to be residents of that neighborhood because of access to the snowmobile trails. So just to address some of the things, again, expanding the tax base and what snowmobiling does for the business. So I have one of our maps here. One of the requirements of the Snowmobile Association every year is every 3 years, the DNR requires us to produce a map that is representing all of our trails, so everybody knows where the trails actually are, where they run, so people are not trespassing. And one of the other big parts of the map actually is that to fund the development of this map, we actually do map ads. So the back of it, throughout this, you'll see different advertisements for all the businesses. Many of those businesses, most of the businesses obviously in Corcoran in this metro area, right? So when we talk about business development and what the snowmobile trails actually mean for businesses in the area, this is a huge part of winter recreation, right? And again, making Corcoran a friendly place to be for families, young families who want to be outdoors in the community. And then just to address the comments again about speeding and things like that, we work very closely with the police departments, the sheriff departments. We do our training, working with those communities or with those departments, and they are actively patrolling the network. So you ask how do they manage speeding? The same way they manage speeding on the streets. There will be people out there, and they will absolutely be out there on weekend evenings looking for speeders, leaving the bars at night. So this is something that is addressed. It's not the complete Wild West. These trail networks are fairly well controlled.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Alrighty, and with that,
No other comment, Chris.
alrighty, we will move on to consent agenda, which consists of items 6A through 6P. Does anyone want to pull anything?
I would like to pull 6C,
6C?
and per
Thank you,
request, I will pull 6F.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys. And sorry, what was the second part, Jeremy?
Per request, I'll pull 6F.
6F, okay. Anyone else? Alright, then I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 6A, 6B, 6D and E, and G through P.
So moved.
Second.
Alright, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jeremy, let's give him 1 second actually here to file up. Might be hard to pick up.
I'm sitting in a hole.
Thanks,
Hit that lever. Thank you. I was gonna ask you to hit that lever. Now if I can sit back down.
Hit that lever.
Life is good. I'm on a high chair.
If you had
You
a
have an
phone
air
back
leak.
there, that would
I
have been
give
really
up on
funny.
chairs. Let's go.
Alrighty, 6C, Jeremy?
So my question, I'm looking at page 37 on the fee schedule, and there's a note for water connection fee per acre. All other churches which do not house weekday school, preschool, and/or daycare activities for connection fees. The use of the word "other" makes me think there's supposed to be another row for churches that do have those, but I don't see one of those listed. I'm wondering if that's a typo or a missing row.
So I'm trying to align, because the packet's a little bit different. So on the fee schedule, what's adjacent to water connection fees for,
It's under the Maple Grove connection fee
yeah,
section,
okay. And
fourth row down.
or daycare activities? Where do you see?
So it says all other churches. I'm
Okay,
focusing on the word "other."
okay.
Is there supposed to be another church row that we don't have? Or are we supposed to take out the word "other" and just churches which don't have weekday school?
I'll have to get back to you on that specific question.
That's fair.
But it can always be amended at really any point if we decide that it needs to be.
And for council's awareness, we are going to have, at least in the first quarter, an update because we're doing some research related to the utility rate schedule. And so we're anticipating an update in the first quarter related to that. We're just not ready with that work yet.
Okay.
So I will hit that. It's on page 11 for us. All other churches. I will follow up with you on that.
Thank you.
Anything else on that?
That was the only one I had to discuss.
If I can make a recommendation that based on what we see, let's strike "other" for right now so that we can go forward. And if it needs another amendment, we'll bring it forward and change. But that makes all churches makes the most sense to me.
I'll make a motion to make that modification and approve.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And F, Jeremy.
F, I think somebody wanted to have comment on this one, so I wanted to give them the opportunity before we make our decision.
So Mr. Michael Ball, item 6F, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes. So my name is Michael Ball. My address is my primary address or the address in question?
Your address, your mailing address.
Okay. My primary address is 7479 Fernbrook Lane, Maple Grove, Minnesota, 55311. So I kind of have a 5-page sheet that I have here to read. It's a lot to digest.
5 minutes.
And exactly. So I know I sent it over to Jay, to send over to the city council.
I believe we all got it.
And I hope you were able to read it, so if you were able to read that, I won't, save us all the time going through that. But really, again, we're just Mike and Judy. We want to build her retirement home. We want to sell 2 lots, one of which will go to my brother, so him and his wife and kids can build a lot, and then a family trying to build a lot. building a city street exceeds the property value and it's just not economically feasible for us to do so. Our thought is, building a private drive, pass that cost on to the homeowners, and then reap in the benefits of the economic benefits for the city of collecting the property taxes. I did some research and really, let's say theoretically we won't because we can't, build a public street. Well, that public street would only be benefiting those 3 homes of which the city would have to shoulder the cost for an unforeseen amount of time. They would have to patch it, reseal it, plow it, eventually even replace it. The parcels immediate to the west had 0 development rates, and that was just purchased by a farmer last year, and that farmer bought that lot with 0 development rates, knowing that, his intentions are to farm, and there's no data in the comprehensive plan supporting development in this area of the city. So we feel the report is based off hypothetical possibilities rather than concrete facts and data that's available to make a decision. We feel like we brought, a pretty good case. Again, we don't know where we would go from here if we can't get this done. So we pray that you guys find it in your hearts to work with us and hopefully approve it. In regards to the city amendment, really, that was something that they told us that we had to submit ideally. But in essence, we just want the private drive. So,
Okay.
that's really all I have to say, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Did we want to?
Any questions for staff?
I thought about this one a bit, and I wanted to bounce some ideas off of staff. I think we talked about this a couple months back. And what I remember from that conversation is, I think I'd made a suggestion if they had one home with an ADU, so effectively 2 living units, would that require a driveway or a street? I think I remember the answer was that would allow them to have a driveway and not a road. Is that correct?
Counselor Nichols, so we take a look at, the previous approvals said no more driveways onto Oakdale Drive. I believe that was contemplating more than a single home. I think when staff looked at it, that I do believe that it would be acceptable for what you're talking about, but we would still want the right-of-way dedicated now. But if it was just a single home, then yes, that was something that we had agreed on when we looked at it, that a driveway in that instance would make sense. But as soon as we're talking about multiple lots, that's really where the road improvements start to get triggered.
So if it stays as one lot, they could have a main home and an ADU would not have to be part of that same home? I think we've seen other ADUs where it's been a detached ADU.
Correct, but I will say that is not the proposal in front of us tonight,
Right.
so that would be a new application.
Yeah, this is something that maybe they could pursue if they want to get
Correct.
2 people living on that property.
Correct. In our ADUs and our rural residential, I believe that we allow for up to 1,200 or 1,100 square feet with the CUP.
Yep, so through the administrative permit process, ADUs are allowed to have a footprint of 960 square feet, and then through the conditional use permit process, that can be exceeded up to 1,200 square feet of living space. That doesn't include the garage space, that's just the living space.
And we don't allow duplexes in rural residential, correct?
Correct. We do not allow duplexes. The ADU is the flexibility provided there.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
When we talked about this back in February, am I right there, Natalie? And the thoughts and the concept came to us, I thought we were quite clear that we would not accept more shared driveways, those kind of things. I thought we were pretty clear about that and recommended that if they were to move forward.
Yeah, there was some kind of, I think, some discussion if a creative solution could be found, but in working with the city attorney, the solution found really has been proposed, I believe, other times with other developments, and we've always said no to that. So it's not really, we haven't found another workaround that really funds the implementation of the road.
And we've done this, we have said no to everyone there's been nothing that has been a shared driveway in any of these areas out there, out by me on the western side of the western side of Corcoran?
Not when we've deemed that a road network connection is needed in that area. We only allow private drives specifically when it's determined that there is no need for a road connection, but
Right.
the road network has been
Right.
planned in this
Okay.
area since about the 1990s.
I wanted to take a minute to thank you very much for trying to jump through all the hoops and the options, listening to Jeremy and his suggestion about doing whatever and stuff. So, appreciate the job that the planning department has done. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Of course. Anything else? Mark? Or staff, anything? We should, discussion?
I mean, the only other thing, we can't do everything everywhere. There's limitations that are created by where the city needs to develop in the future. There are other options you could consider if you're willing to take on a much bigger project. When you look at the development rights around this property, if you work with your neighbors, maybe you can develop some kind of a strategy where you can do more lots by spreading across a bigger area. There's 7 on the property to the east, there's 8 on the property to the northwest. If you could put together a larger group of people trying to build something out, you could probably have more success. If you do it as a OS&P, you get up to double the development rights as well. So if you really need to make this happen for 3 people and not 2, that would be what I would do in your shoes. See if you can find some partners. That's the best that I can offer.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
in the planning department, we are approving the preliminary plat and subdivision ordinance amendment. What-
We'd be approving the preliminary plat and then approving the resolution denying the
Right,
request
gotcha.
amendment.
Okay.
That's the recommended. That's the recommended.
And again, the preliminary plat means there needs to be a public street.
That's
Yep.
correct.
Thank you.
And on that, does someone want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion, as written in the,
Staff report?
staff report. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, we have no planning items. Let's go on on here. And then we will go on to unfinished business. Jay?
So, Mayor and Council, we are here tonight seeking guidance on the budget for 2026 in preparation for our Truth and Taxation meeting. We've had, prior to this evening, 4 other meetings. The first in August, we got the draft budget. Then we had to set the preliminary levy in September. In October, we saw community developments, detailed inline budgets, and public safety's detailed budgets. And then earlier this month, we covered the administration, public works, and water and sewer. And so what's come up in my discussions with residents is an important distinction that I've been talking with folks about, and that is the levy amount. There's been a lot of concern about the levy amount being 30.11%. And I have made the distinction of the levy versus the tax rate. And why that's important is right here, the property tax change and how it's going to impact our residents. 91% of our residents are going to see less than a 15% change in their property tax, or a 15% increase in their property taxes. And it varies what the city's portion of that is. As I've talked with folks, it's been as low as single digits, and it's been averaging in the between 12 and 15% as I've talked with different residents. Now, there are a handful of residents, 3%, 3.6% of our residents will have a 20% increase or higher, which equates to about 75 homes in the city.
Can you clarify as you're talking about this, Jay, is this the overall tax bill or the Corcoran specific levy amount?
It's the overall tax bill, because how the Corcoran bill plays out changes because we have 5 different school districts, and there's other taxing districts for different residents. And so the portion that the city is of their tax bill will change as those other taxing districts change, so I can't say what the portion is. So I'm speaking specifically when I've talked with residents and talked them through their proposed levy and taxes statement. That's been what I've learned, is they've said, here's what the overall is. So the overall rate, 91% will be less than 15% overall. And then the city's portion has varied. One of the things that I did learn, I met with our county assessor last Thursday to talk about the 2027 appraisals that are coming up. Important to note, part of the reason we've had a lot of property tax changes is because people's appraised values changed this year, because we actually hadn't had somebody out in Corcoran appraising houses for a long time. And so there's a lot of residents that hadn't had their properties appraised in over 5 years. They hadn't had somebody there. So on average, residents' property values increased 5.8% across the board. And so that's across all of Corcoran. That's significant. Something else that I learned.
If I could just comment on that, just because someone's property increases in value doesn't put money in their bank accounts.
I agree with that. Something else that's problematic that hit a lot of those higher increased is then the market value exclusion that people have grown accustomed to. The legislature changed the laws, and consequently that's impacted how some people have seen their exclusion. So on average, right now the Corcoran home, the average market value home is $542,000, and at that level, they no longer have a market value exclusion.
Yeah, it's almost worthless in Minnesota.
So previously, the medium estimated market value was $512,000, and they had about $461 market value exclusion. Something else that is important to note that I just recently learned, Corcoran has one of the highest increases for the Regional Rail Authority and the County Housing and Redevelopment Authority. And I haven't gotten a great answer on why, because of the activity in ours, but you'll see here on this, it went up 11.8% for Corcoran residents from the county. For average for the county, it was only 7.2%. And it's really odd, 11.8% across the county. We don't have any influence over that, and I'm waiting for an answer back from the county assessor on what the ham sandwich is that.
And we don't have railroad tracks in Corcoran.
No,
we do
thank
not.
God. Thank God.
No.
Yeah, be careful, they might give you one.
I've learned one thing from other mayors nearby is that they
And HRA
Never works out well.
isn't actively involved in Corcoran, so for the county. So those are important things to note here. Next thing, a couple of growth impacts that have impacted the city. On the bottom, the blue portion is what's happened in terms of our estimated population growth that's happened over the last 5 years. And this is an estimate. In 2020, we had a census, and so off that census, what I've done is I've taken the data from our utilities and the number of help me out, water meters installed, and then I multiplied that water meter installation by 2.5 as an average. So that's the logic behind how we got here, but you see significant increase over time, and then on the top of that is the rate of inflation. So those are variables of growth that are impacting how we're able to deliver services. And then this last one, just a big snapshot, lots of numbers here. So the green portion is our increased tax capacity in the city of Corcoran. It's increased 116% in the last 5 years, which is one of the largest in the metro.
largest in Hennepin County.
Yes. Behind Dayton. Dayton is a little bit ahead of us, but they've had other developments impacting that in terms of commercial industrial. And then you see in the pink That's what has been adopted as the tax levy, except for 2026. That's the preliminary levy. And then in the blue, that's the remaining tax capacity. The reason that's important is how we get the tax rate is you take what our adopted levy is and you divide that by the tax capacity. And that's what our tax rate becomes. And so you see we've maintained a relatively flat rate over time. The budget that has come before you is what staff needs in order to deliver the services that council has asked them to deliver. In the past with the flat rate, I will say when I arrived here, we did not have the resources that we need, and in many areas of our city operations, we were outright failing. And as a consequence of that, at your direction, we have added staff, we have added technology in order to solve it. Implementing those solutions have cost us money. And I'm very proud of where staff is at now in terms of delivering services. So as we move towards discussing the direction that council wants to provide staff in preparation for the truth in taxation, I would ask that you let us know what you'd like us to stop doing. Because the things that we are doing are things that we believe that council has asked us to do. I don't believe that we're doing anything right now. And if we are, please point it out so that we can stop. So that $11,917,361, with a few exceptions, which I believe I've talked with all of you about, that's what it costs to deliver the services at the level that we've been asked to deliver them. So with that, I will open it up. I have in the packet, we have all of the information that you've received at the previous 4 briefings, to include the preliminary draft budget, and then all of the itemized details for each of the departments if you'd like to direct us to dig in a particular area.
I have one top of
Go
mind,
ahead.
unless somebody else wants to do it first.
Go for it.
Packet page 209, itemized community development department budget, the professional services row under construction services. We're going from 450,000 to 600,000. I think this is intended to fluctuate with number of permits and inspections that we have to do, but we are not forecasting an increase in permit revenue. So I would suggest that we drop the increase in professional services and just allow the two to scale with each other to avoid having to collect $150,000 in the levy.
So can you give me the line number again? Construction services, professional services?
50300. That's the right page.
So there may be additional professional services that are in there, so I will check in with Natalie. So if we balanced it out with the revenues straight away?
Well, I mean, that's what we've been spending for the last 2 years based on the revenue bringing in. So I guess if we're in the red, it's been in the red for the last 2 years. We believe it's being offset by the revenue, but I guess that would be my concern, is I think that is the revenue that we're bringing in, that is how much it's costing us, if not a little bit more.
Okay,
So then is the fee at the right level? Should we be increasing on the revenue
I
side?
believe the fee is at the right level. It has been studied. We could certainly do a fee study next year, but the fee is based on the most recent study that was done. It was pretty extensive. And we want to make sure that we're being careful with how we set up those fees.
For sure.
I believe we're bringing in like more in fees than we are to Metro West specifically, because there's more built into the fees than just the Metro West contracts. So it's not that we're operating in a deficit, but that is what we are spending.
Does that help answer your question on it?
To some degree, yeah. I mean, it's important that development is paying for the services that it requires us to provide. So I just want to make sure that we're balancing that appropriately.
For sure.
And so if I understand your guidance clearly, you want us to go back and take a look to make sure that this particular expense item has the offsetting revenue coming from permits
Yes,
and, if necessary,
make
balance it.
adjustments, yes.
Okay. And what I heard Natalie say is right now she believes that it's balanced, but we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Any other items?
Just a summary comment, while my taxes went up substantially, and I'm not gonna complain about it and such, what makes it so that when we get our information, the city portion is up 30-some% and stuff? What can be done to make that communication different than this is the maximum and we're doing what we're doing? That's question number one. Don't need an answer, just somebody work on that baby for me, would you? I've been saying that it's gonna catch us in 2026 if we keep saying no to any new taxes and such. So we've done that for how many years? 3 or 4 years in a row of no increased taxes? It's been longer than that.
Flat rate almost 10 years.
So
Relatively flat.
I've been saying it, we're living it now, folks, and it's hard to chew on and such, but if we don't do something, it's gonna get worse. Jay, you summarized this evening to everybody about the commercial, all of the things. That is something that is going to help flatten, I hope, our taxes if we get this stuff in, but we aren't gonna see the results for 2 years if everything were to happen today, correct?
2 years from the time that they go active.
Right.
Correct.
Has anybody ever been given the answer? I've asked that question a couple of times on why does it take 2 years for us to start seeing the benefits of when things go active? I've asked it, I've asked Representative Robbins, I asked Lemmer, and nobody has ever gotten back to me on why it takes 2 years for the city to start benefiting, and why can't we get back taxes for the county having that money for 2 years? You know what I'm saying? I know that the timing and everything, it takes at least a year to get in all of that stuff, but there needs to be a faster response time, especially for growing communities and such, is what I feel.
Well, to follow up with that, that's what I've gotten us in terms of the timeline of the process when I met with Mr. Hoogland last Thursday.
Yeah.
And he's going to come back to us in the spring, and so we're gonna have him on the agenda, so you'll be able to ask the county assessor that question in person when he comes to visit, and maybe he can articulate that better than I've understood it.
Appreciate it.
But that timing is really the answer that I've gotten each time that I've asked it, from the time that it builds to how it gets through the system until it's actually active and you're paying taxes on it.
Thank you. Another question, and Kevin, not to put you on the spot or anything, but we keep talking about gravel costs for all of our gravel roads, those kind of things. We know we have 35, 7, 9, 11 miles of gravel. How many miles of tar do we have?
I couldn't get that, it's growing, so Jay's talked to me about getting a solid number, so we use the same number, but I would say when I got here it was 35.
Okay.
Probably mid-40s right now if I had to guess, but we'll put together a number so we can.
So my only thing is I'd like to not differentiate gravel roads, tarred roads. We have roads in Corcoran. They all need maintenance. I'd rather not go down that road. And the public works folks, I don't mind a gravel road being a gravel road. I get disappointed when they come and take the washboard out, because whether or not it happens, it should slow people down. It doesn't on my road. And there's only 2 of us that live on my road, if I can call it my road. I'll call it a Bechtold road. I truly appreciate the effort that Public Works put forth and such, but I think John Bottomus said this at one point, that maintenance, those kind of things is shared by all, not people that live on gravel roads pay gravel road fees, people that live on tarred roads pay a different fee for tarred roads. It's a combined deal. That's what I'm wanting to say. Do I want us to spend less upkeep, less money on gravel roads. I'm not gonna dive into it that deep, okay? I just won't. That's just a couple of things I'd like to do is try and keep it, this is our budget for road maintenance. To dissect it down to gravel and tar, those kind of things, I don't wanna do that. It's the same thing, we've got parks here, I don't wanna dissect that our new city park is getting all our money where Wildflower or Bellwether or other parks aren't getting the right amount. It's our parks, they're all the same in my mind. That's the way I wanna treat them, so I don't know if we can do that in a quick change or anything like that. This is our city, these are our costs, and to break it out in the neighborhoods, those kind of things, we are folks that are supposed to be up here at large. We don't have wards, we don't have anything else, we should be thinking about the entire city, not just our own little neighborhoods, so. That's all I have to say. It would be nice if there were cutbacks without us slashing and saying, take this away and stuff. But we gotta do business, and I feel we need to keep doing it at the level that it is grown to over the last couple of years. It was substantially below par 2 years ago and prior, so thank you very much.
I know one of the things we were trying to clean up is the 2016A bonds not having appropriate allocation. When are those expiring? When do they get paid off?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that exact number, but a quick visit of how we ended up there. So prior to the issuance of the 2016A bonds, council made the decision to not go forward with special assessments, and as a result, that didn't. When they were looking at how to fund the future of the bond, that's how it was going to be funded, was almost half of it was going to be funded with special assessments. And then when council made the decision not to, that didn't get communicated as the bonds went forward. And so the bond documents had those assessments forecasted in terms of the long-range bond payments. And so the city, for quite a few years now, has been carrying on our financial statements this deficit forward because we didn't have that revenue stream that was supposed to come forward with special assessments. When we had my first audit, the 2022 audit when I started, I talked about that because I'd never seen that before, and our auditors were like, yeah, that's okay. I didn't have enough experience in that to be super concerned about it, so then as we came through for the 2023 audit, no issues. We switched auditors for the 2024 audit, and then they made an issue of it. They were like, why is this the way that it is? And so then staff had to do a lot of dig in order to find out why it was that way. And that's when we discovered that the special assessments had not occurred the way that the bond documents reflected that they would, creating that revenue stream. And that puts us in a bit of a pickle as a city because we are no longer complying with what we're telling the documents that we're saying, since we haven't paid up the way that we said that we would.
Wait.
So
Are we
carrying
making the
deficit.
payments on the bonds that we were supposed to?
So the debt service on the bonds.
That is being paid correctly?
So it's being paid correctly, but carrying the deficit isn't the way that we were funding it. That's where it could come into question.
Okay.
And so we sought a wise counsel with different financial experts on, is it okay for us to continue this? And unanimously, they all said that it's in our best interest to bring it up to par so that you're no longer carrying that deficit. So that's a significant expense for 2026, I acknowledge that.
Will that be an annual expense going forward, or is that a one-time?
I have to pull up the long-term financial plan, so it should be a one-time expense to bring us flush, and then it continues to go forward. And we should pay that off pretty soon, but I'll have to loop back on the end.
Is there another way to discharge the debit besides increasing the levy in 1 year? Like, are there reserves we could allocate to that instead to avoid having to levy for it? Or maybe there's another mechanism.
So I can explore that. When we had discussed that, one of the challenges is we do have a reserve that we want to maintain. If I recall correctly, I think that this would bring us below statutory requirement for that reserve of 42%. But I will revisit that with Tammy Amdel, who's our Northland's long-term financial planner. I remember we talked about it, but I don't remember all the details of it. And it was concluded that this was the best of all the options. Carrying it forward was not a wise option for us financially, carrying that debt forward on our financial statements. Resolving it was the best option, but I'll revisit with her tomorrow to see if there are alternatives. I don't recall that there were.
I want to push again on the revenue side too. I think when we looked at I forget if it was the water or the sewer fund, we were only budgeting like $25,000 in interest income. We should be getting a couple $100K, I would imagine, if we can just put it into a mutual fund, sorry, a money market fund. Any adjustments we can make in that direction, I think, should be explored fully before we commit to this large of an increase in the levy.
So we have recently, since there's some tools that we can have that have a high liquidity if we have any unforeseen costs, we've moved more money around than we have in the past in order to try and maximize our interest earnings. So we've got them in a couple different, we're low risk. That's really critical with public funds, but potentially a higher yield. So I may be able to adjust our interest forecast based on I would almost say more aggressive strategy that we've been using.
I would say more prudent strategy.
Anything else there?
On highways, streets, and roadways, page 255, row 50321, for telephone, we're seeing a 20% increase to 15,000. I'm kind of curious what we are getting for $15,000 a year in the realm of telephones.
What was that number again? Sorry, I was...
50321. So the telephones, our staff have cell phones, and I believe that's what it is, whatever the ops team has now. Do you have any other insights there, Kevin?
No, yeah, that's the carrying cost of cell phones, and there's some phones out at the facilities and in the park that they're negligible, but this is really cell phones.
Okay. Is that covering a different use than the radios?
Different, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, radios are in vehicles and in some case handhelds for different events, but primarily in vehicles.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? No? I feel like there's a wheel turning. Are you looking for something, Jeremy, or?
I'm just going to the rest
Okay.
of my notes.
Gotcha. I will just mention stuff we've kind of already discussed as we went through the department budgets, but as we bring it back on the 11th, I'd like to see maybe the option of, I'm glad we went through the discussion and exercise of the fire deputy position and leaning potentially towards the contract route. I think that is probably the best route to start that position. Timing-wise, I'd like to consider if we do it 2027 instead of 2026. So if we could see maybe both options when we bring it back on the 11th. And then Jay, you and I had a brief discussion about another PD-related funding mechanism. I don't know if you wanted to get into that or if maybe want to bring that back on the 11th.
Yeah, I think now's a good time to discuss it. So one of the things that came up was we did great work from Darren Bolson, and he earned the IC Poet grant that will allow us to get our cadet program started. One of the challenges in policing as a whole is finding the right candidate. And so one potential savings, and I've talked with Chief Gottschalk about this, is we've got the funding from the IC Poet grant to cover the education component of it, but the staffing component of it as a police position, was going to be borne by the levy. And since we're uncertain of when we find the right candidate, if we find the right candidate, and this is a new strategy for us in order to try and fill critical needs, because we've had a vacancy as we've gone through. I think we've interviewed 30 people for one vacancy that we've had for a while, because we want to find the right fit. A potentially prudent alternative was to use long-term planning dollars to cover the cadet, because this is really a strategic planning move, long-term. I mean, if we're trying to find a cadet, this is someone who hasn't been working towards their schooling yet. We're trying to help facilitate that. There's a commitment on the back side of it, and then we could convert that to an operations budget item in the future. We have about $1.9 million right now in our long-term financial planning budget, our long-term planning budget. And so
combine basically that $50,000 grant.
So the $55,000 would cover their education
Yep.
pieces and some of the other variables. And then it's unlikely that it would be that high. This would be if we found somebody January 1st and then they had all of these other variables, you know, more likely that our cadet's going to be single and not on the family plan in terms of benefits, those sorts and types of things that change the cost. So worst case scenario would be $138,000. Probably more likely to be considerably less than that. And we could move that expense to long-term financial or long-term planning rather than having that in the operations budget as a consideration.
Yeah, I'd like to see that when we bring it back on the 11th as an option. Because I believe if we look at just those two items alone that I mentioned, potentially savings for 2026 of north of $300,000 total, I believe.
Yeah, it brings us to almost $370,000 savings, which moves the needle about 4%.
So that's what I'd like to see. Consideration on the 11th.
Good ideas.
What I really like about that one is it protects this critical position. I mean, this new strategy is really important for us to build bench. A lot of work has gone in. I mean, we're one of only 8 communities that have the benefit of the IC Poet grant, and so I won't want anything to threaten that, so that they're confused about our commitment to it.
Right. No, I think it's a great program and idea.
One other thing to think about, kind of along that same line, where you don't always get the talent when you expect, or you might suffer attrition. Where I am, they will have some negative carrying cost on employees to account for people who resign or where people are delayed in hire, and you can't backfill them immediately. So you might carry 1 headcount across the whole organization, or 1.5, to account for, we're just gonna have somebody who's not here when we need them. And we don't want to tax to pay for people who aren't actually delivering the service at that time. There's some risk that you end up where everybody is here the whole year, and maybe you have to dip into a reserve to cover that, but it prevents overtaxation to pay for people who aren't actually on the job yet.
And that's exactly why we were proposing it, because you know, we were able to use that carrying cost in order to add the lieutenant position this year, as we were having challenges recruiting and filling the open retired police officer position. That's been a high payoff for us from what I've heard from the department, and provided some much needed capacity in terms of freeing up our sergeants to focus on sergeant duties and less administrative stuff. And then we've already seen the benefit of that additional capacity with the IC Poet grant and some other advances that, but for that addition, we wouldn't have had the capacity to pursue those things.
Does it make sense to look at that same notion outside of just public safety?
So we don't have any vacancies.
Yeah, you do.
Huh? Say again?
We had a resignation today, right?
Yeah.
Well, so with that one, the IT component of things, the CIT contract, what has changed is the person that we've relied on for a considerable amount of time has differing responsibilities than what he was delivering before we had an IT position filled on staff, and was doing exactly why we added an IT position. We're able to transition those responsibilities. As a consequence of that, he doesn't have the capacity to come back and backfill all those responsibilities. And so Nalisha was doing great today, trying to work with CIT to figure out how we're going to get those needs met.
Yeah.
But us just relying on the contract, we're going to pay a premium for the contract, and that's why it was on the agenda to try and backfill.
Yeah.
And we'll see with Mark trying to have vacancies on, like, we need the action figure to do the work, and so we aren't trying to carry any
Vacancy for a long
we're not trying to buffer our budget
Right.
by carrying a position and leaving it open.
And I
we
would-
do sometimes incur overtime costs or other costs to try and cover the gap left by the vacancies. So when we can, we look at opportunities to hire, but we do incur additional expenses, whether that's overtime or other just cost. We end up shifting or reallocating that to other areas. So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
And realistically, it's likely, I mean, I'm not super familiar with the IT market, but I don't think it would be as hard to find someone with that skill set interested in that job than perhaps it is hiring an officer right now, just practically speaking. So it's more likely to see longer vacancies there.
Fair.
Okay, anything else? No? Okay. So does that work for direction?
So as to set the stage for staff expectations for the truth in taxation, just want to make sure I understand what you're wanting us to deliver on that day, because that's the date we have to certify the levy. And so want to make sure that we're prepared to try and address any concerns.
I just have two things that I want to say. And I want to be clear, just because a resident's property value increases doesn't give us the right to grab their equity. That's not right. And justifying a 30% increase by saying, well, property values are right, that should be irrelevant. The second piece, 14.9%, and we're supposed to be, that's like the good news. How many of us here have received a 14.9% raise? I haven't. It's 14.9. I just don't understand why our surrounding communities are where they are and we're at 30. So I would urge you to find places to cut.
One of the reasons I'd say that those communities are able to be more balanced is because they haven't maintained a flat rate for the last 10 years. And so we have not had the staffing or the equipment necessary to deliver the services that we've been asked to deliver for a significant amount of time. When I arrived...
How many years were they staffed?
Well, been lean staff. I haven't been here for 10 years, but Matt can speak to that.
I think 9 out of the 10 years was a flat to reduced rate on the levy. Now that is different from the community growth. Obviously, we've had about 100% growth in population. So there's moving pieces, but I would say I believe it is, and we can go through the previous budget presentations, but I believe it's 9 out of the last 10 years were a flat or reduced levy rate. And I think as we're getting increases to other things that are outside of our control, you put a cross section of the flat or reduced rate with what we're seeing for increases in fire service or a lot of the inflation, even after COVID, that ends up by nature cutting into other services because there are certain costs that are out of our control. And what happens is that you end up having staff taking or having to perform more duties with less resources. And so that's how we fell to such thin staffing in so many areas, because there were years where, where the staff was told, this is the final number, and without being given a target of, okay, what needs to get cut. And it ends up, ended up things were not getting done, and I don't know if those impacts were fully communicated as to where we were falling short very well in the past.
So to build off what Matt said there for a second, I talked to a lot of residents in the last 72 hours because if people call, I want to have a conversation with them and I want to hear them, and I talked through their statements with them. And some of them I'd had conversations with in the past where they wanted to add lines of service. For example, winter trails maintenance. And I had a conversation with them about how this, this budget doesn't add lines of service. This is to provide the professional services we've been asked to deliver. And so I don't discount that it's significant. I'm just pointing out that the city was not adequately staffed, and as a consequence was failing in many areas. Finance, we didn't have minutes of our council meetings for over a year, which is a statutory requirement. So there was a lot of business areas in which the city was outright failing because we didn't have the adequate staff, we didn't have the necessary skills, and it's because we didn't have the necessary resources in order to get those met. I'm very proud of the way that the team has grown, and it's because council has supported us in getting the right people on the bus, doing the right things. If you've noticed, in huge contrast to the last 2 years, there's not a lot of staff changes. The staff changes are in those areas in which we're either behind because we're still trying to hire some people, or we're reallocating resources because we're learning, okay, we don't need this type of person. If we look at Public Works, we're going to retool a position because we need a fleet manager now. And that's going to help us be a better steward of the resources that we have in terms of our equipment. So we're not growing the team larger. This is what it costs in order to support the team that we have. So I would ask, and I don't discount that it's significant, but the reason it's significant is because it hasn't been properly staffed with the right skill levels and the appropriate resources. And now we're not failing. I'd say that we're doing very well. We're not huge. We still are a lean staff comparatively for some of our other growing cities. And I also would say that there's neighboring cities that have fewer staff. I acknowledge that. But to deliver the services that we've been asked to deliver, this is where we're at. So I would ask if there is a need to cut, that you would provide some guidance on what you would like us to stop doing. Because that's the only way that we can really cut, is to stop doing certain things. Because right now, all the services that we're delivering, as I understand it, are things that we've been asked to do. And so if there's things that we are doing that we shouldn't be doing, please call us out on that. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think I've covered the couple things I'd like to see. Lisa's options to trim back that overall number. And then Jeremy and Dean and Mark have highlighted a couple things maybe to at least look at and possibly tighten up if possible and see where that comes in at. And
another one that has come up is our legal fees. And so there's two things regarding the legal fees. One, our bargaining is moving into 2026 from where we thought that it was, potentially. I hope not, but likely that's what could be happening. So our labor attorney fees are up. And then hope that some of the lawsuits that we've had will be closing, and we're going to have some LMCIT legal bills that we're going to have to pay in 2026. Particularly the Housing First one is going to be a significant bill for us that hopefully will resolve in April. So that's why the legal fees are where they're at, is forecasted expenditures, and some of them have been long-standing.
yep. Yeah, not much we can do about that. One at every stage, and still costs money.
Is there a surplus on that line this year then? Because those things did get pushed out?
We've had a couple of unforeseen lawsuits that have occurred, that initially LMCIT is going to have some of the fees, but before LMC picks it all up, our city attorney fees have gone up as a consequence of trying to help us with that.
Okay.
I will say, at first I panicked because when I saw the number, I thought, wow, Thames really jacked up his rates this year. Then it made a lot more sense when the full explanation of what's all being included in the legal line item.
No comment. Come on.
He's too smart for that.
All right. Well, I think that's everything we got for that?
I think the city attorney should make a park donation.
Yeah, we have a QR code for you. Can I take your link afterwards?
We can call it Heritage Thames Park.
Heritage, Thames Heritage.
That goes against the
Oh,
naming
yeah,
policy.
policy says don't name any other people.
Depends
we,
how much.
we could name an amenity, the splash pad,
There you go.
legal waters.
So I did a little bit of crunching, and thank you, Jay, for the data that you gave us this afternoon that you shared. Looking back as far as the data went, I'm seeing a population plus inflation average compound annual growth rate of about 14.4%. And then with this proposed levy, we're at about 18.7% over the same period. So slightly higher, not as much as I was afraid of. And I think a big chunk of that is the 500K hole we're trying to fill from the 2018 council or whatever it was. So it'd be really great if there was another way to deal with that besides a one-year lump sum increase to keep us more on track. But I know we're limited in the number of levers that we can pull. So I feel like the next best thing that's going to have the biggest impact is probably the interest income, just to make sure we're fully exploiting what we can responsibly.
Or the lottery.
There you go.
We are not authorized to spend city funds on lottery tickets, but we can take donations.
We could start our own lottery.
643 million this Wednesday. So
I think
If I
it would
win,
move
I
the
will
needle.
donate $1 million. I like it.
buy tickets, buy often.
There you go. That's probably terrible advice.
I will share.
Sounds good. Alrighty. We'll go on to new business, which is the wayfinding policy guidance. Oh, did you have something to present?
I mean, unless you guys.
No, if you want, yeah, go for it.
It wasn't anything like, I don't have like a slideshow or anything by any means, but. You have to turn the mic on. Oh. Why'd you turn it on? The batteries are out. I talk loud enough, right? I think we'll be okay.
Aaron will tell you.
Huh?
Aaron will report that.
That's okay, the batteries are over there and they're probably dead at this point. So, the start of this discussion really came from.
ACB. The bad throw.
All right.
Bad throw. I didn't want to hit you in the face in the middle of a meeting.
Kind of a weak throw there.
Yeah.
Ouch,
It
did
would
you
have been
hear
way,
it?
it would have been
Might
way
just
worse to
gas
give her a
JJ
black eye.
McCarthy over there.
Middle of the council meeting.
If you want, we can enroll you in our T-ball program.
Oh, okay, go back to the budget. I think we can cut a good amount from the trails.
I'm sensing more billable hours.
That looks like a safety.
Okay, so this discussion,
Whoa.
yeah, see, I told you you really probably didn't want me to use the mic, but you guys insisted, so I'll probably stand back. This whole conversation kind of started when we renamed City Park Heritage Park, and as the park is developing, we would have needed new signs at the park anyways, because one of them spells pavilion incorrectly, if we're being honest, and then there's some other ones where it just doesn't quite fit what we're developing now. Some of them still say Rockford School District on them, so we're at kind of, as Kevin would say, the nexus to address this. So I'm kind of looking for guidance from the council. First off, is a wayfinding policy something you are interested in before we even delve down this rabbit hole? And if so, what specific parts would you like staff to really hone in on? Are you looking for a development of a greater policy that encompasses parks, trails, citywide facilities like the Public Works Building or the new city campus? Or are you looking more for, let's address the problem of the parks needing a sign to tell you where you are, and maybe some rule signs, and then we expand it? I guess at this point I'm just looking for direction. What are you guys looking to see?
I would like to see Google Maps. Can people not find these locations? I don't know why this is necessary.
So for reference, I would say the monument sign is probably the biggest one, and then rules and regulation signs. So it's pretty standard to have monument signs within parks, at least at minimum, I would say community parks like Heritage Park or the open space parks.
the reason for that, they are larger in size. It does make sense to kind of have a gateway into the park. Now, if you were looking at a neighborhood park and you said, do we need a gateway sign? I think that's up for debate, for sure. I mean, does Wildflower Park need a sign? That's part of my question for you. Is that something that you would like to see? Does that look the same as a community park sign, or is it smaller?
I think that's something I'd like to explore with HKGI.
Okay.
Personally, I think it makes sense to have a policy and to look at some of the stuff. I don't think that it's all nearly as pressing as some of the items. Like, I think parks, to your point, specifically Heritage Park, is the most pressing signage issue. Some of the building stuff, we have some time, and I don't know that, the water treatment facility needs the sign or something like that necessarily. It's something we can explore, I think, later. And to me, the rules and regulatory signs is kind of that second, because that's something that can't really be on a Google Maps or
Right.
like that.
And I will note, we do have rules on signs at Heritage Park currently. So that wouldn't be like a huge pressing issue specific to that park. I believe we also have a sign at Wildflower Park. So we did address that just because we were having some issues with dogs defecating in the parks. So in an effort to address that, we did kind of do that part already, but at least looking at, should we be looking at monument signs? I'm hearing that maybe we work with HKGI. Initially, staff's proposition was to do it in-house to provide a more budget-neutral option, and then maybe have HKGI come in at the end to finalize the policy, kind of help us really, yeah, graphics. I'm not a designer.
That works for me. I mean, I think if we could, maybe it's a work session or something next year that we can get an idea of where we do have signage, how it's looking, what needs to be updated, what upcoming places, parks, whatever need signage. We can kind of prioritize that and see what we're ballpark looking cost-wise for kind of the starting point, and if we wanted to build out more to full city facilities, from there we can kind of get a sense of, because I have no idea how much we're talking, and probably won't figure that out until we dig into some of that.
And I think a lot of it is going to vary based on what
Right.
the design looks like, what materials you want to use, what's included on it. I mean, there's a lot of variables that can change that.
Yeah.
And at least for a starting point, I just wanted to know, are we looking only at parks, or are we looking grand scheme?
If I could ask real quick, I'm sorry, why is it called wayfinding?
You need to find your way.
I would say from a public safety perspective as well, it would be good to have some kind of marks on the trails, so people, as we build out our trail system, that as people, if there's an issue and we're having to respond as public safety, saying, I'm on the trail, isn't helpful to us, and depending on, sometimes the geolocate is not always an option, or if they're pinpointing it, it's not easy to respond to. So if they say, I'm in a bellwether trail, gets us close, but it would be helpful for us if there were at least identifiers as to what leg of our trail system they're on, or if there are markers or stops.
Just real quick for me, none of us are experts at this. We got them here. I'd rather a recommendation come to us saying, yes, I want to sign a Wildflower that says it's Wildflower Park, and please leash your dog and pick up after your animals. Same as City Park, Heritage Park, probably a little bit more of a grandiose sign and such.
Or a tractor, we do have a tractor donated by Mike Kane.
Yeah, we gotta, well,
It needs some work.
gonna need a whole lot of lipstick on that pig. But I mean, the Three Rivers, can we enlist Three Rivers?
That's what I was
So,
thinking.
so Three
to
Rivers,
help
when they
with some
do
of
their,
this stuff.
when they do their development, when the trail connections happen, they actually have a whole standard. It looks the same throughout the Three Rivers system.
The intention is to have a kiosk at Heritage Park once we develop a trailhead in that area. However, at this point, it's got to be.
All stuff, I'd rather get the recommendation from you. We've got police here. My daughter being part of 911, there needs to be locators, it needs to be better. I hear it all the time, all things I would love to see, but the people that do it every day and stuff, I'd rather that recommendation come to us. I want it nice, but I don't wanna break the bank, because all of this signage is gonna come out of parks and trails, if it's.
Likely
done
park
with
dedication, yeah, if
So,
it's
I mean,
happening at the time of the development.
I'd like to spend wisely like you've done.
Those items too can look really different depending on what sort of finishes you want. So sometimes it's wood, sometimes it's, we went in certain areas in Shakopee in order to get the public safety component addressed. You know, those things that you have that are kind of flexible, I forget what they're called, the public works type thing, utility thing. We got colored ones of those that covered city colors, and then it had stickers on it with QR codes so that we could address that.
Yeah.
Gave you mile markers, and they were really inexpensive.
I do like the QR.
But we had so many miles, I mean, there were 77 miles of trail. And so not having that many miles of trail might be more advantageous to do something that embraces our rural character.
This might
more
not
so
be the
than-
nexus for it.
Good usage. Jeremy?
Kevin's
there-
Corner is coming up in an hour. Go get him, Jeremy.
In minds of keeping it cost effective, is there a way to leverage some of the existing signs we do for wetland buffers? And just put additional things onto those same posts? Kind of like what Jay was talking about with the little plastic. But most of the trails that I see, at some point, run parallel to a wetland. Maybe it's possible to leverage some of those posts.
Yep.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Worth a look.
Every 100 feet, right?
And then as we get into it, I think
Yeah.
maybe just, this would be later on, the lines we're talking materials and style and stuff, probably be helpful if staff could put together nearby cities or just different options, because kind of like we did with the water tower and other stuff, like we don't really know what our options are unless we see some examples.
If it helps, I do still have some from probably 2018
That's
that I
a good
could
starting
send
point.
your way. That would be a good start.
Perfect.
At least for examples. So what I'm hearing then, kind of start the process, maybe come forward with a policy in Q1 of '26. The intention was to probably bring a policy through Parks and Trails in December, just like a draft policy, so that they can review it, give any feedback.
Yeah.
That way you get a first set of eyes on it before it comes your way.
That'd be great.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Is there a way that we could shamelessly borrow Three Rivers policy and go off of that?
I think that would be a very financially
Yeah, their
expensive
standards are higher
decision.
than Corcoran's going to want to pay.
But it's a start, and we
Yeah.
can step it down from that, but I'm just saying, that's an extreme.
And I
But
have
a
reached
lot
out to
of
some
our-
other cities about their wayfinding policies in advance to try and get them before this conversation, if this is something that you guys wanted to go through. So
But a lot of their trails are going to come through our city and are part of our standard trails, so if there's a cheaper way of doing what they're doing, just saying. There is, come on.
Yeah, you wouldn't need the, like, map stands that they do.
Yeah.
right. But then it doesn't meet the threshold that you're looking for there. So I think there's probably a balance that we can find
Yep.
where we can meet public safety's needs of locating, we can meet parks and recreation needs of finding where you're going for an activity. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people get lost at the fields at Heritage Park.
Yeah, those wood signs are pretty tired.
Well, when you have soccer, that's when it gets more tough. So the things like the bulletin boards at the park actually serve as a wayfinding option as well.
Yeah.
So that's been really beneficial.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Questions? Wonderful, thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you. Alrighty, and with that, I believe, we are pretty much done. Any staff reports today?
I will be out tomorrow, gone to Wisconsin for the weekend, but I will have my phone and my computer. No snowmobile questions, I hope, this weekend.
Okay.
Knock on wood.
So,
Have fun. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Just a couple reminders, December 3rd is our city holiday party, and it'll be the presentation of our Employees of the Year, if council would like to join us. And then a reminder that
What
December,
11:30 to 1.
here at City Hall, 11:30 to 1.
That was enough straw bales?
Thank you.
That work?
Yes.
Okay, let me know if you need something else. Do we need to bring something?
Yourselves.
Okay.
You could come dressed.
You want an appearance?
Why not?
I'm asking.
Yes, please.
I don't do it unless I get invited.
Yeah, you're invited. Please come and we can get a Santa Claus is coming. And then a reminder that December 9th is the holiday toy and food drive.
Yes.
And with a weather date of the 10th, if that becomes
So
necessary.
that does not become necessary. That's gonna be an issue.
We're all hoping it does.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I got a couple of things.
Yeah.
If it's our turn.
Go for it.
I know it's gonna be probably in the spring, but is there any way we can accelerate the crosswalk signs crossing 10 over to M&I Homes from Heritage Park?
People should not be utilizing that trail right now because it is still inactive.
I've asked them to, but they keep kicking the signs down when I see them walking across and those kind of things,
We've got
so.
snow fence up now, orange snow fence.
Something's changed in the last day or two?
It was up there yesterday when I went out.
I didn't go by yet then, okay.
Yep, so all of the trail portions where they could enter are currently snow fenced because we still have access.
So it's their choice, but there's the plan of Three Rivers or the county putting up a lit crosswalk at that.
Well, there is a crosswalk.
It's not marked,
It's like a
there's
storage
no
island,
sign.
was the idea, I think.
There's just an island and there's an apron now on the new trail and those kind of things, but there's no signage, no pedestrian, no nothing.
Yes, we'll have to work with the county on it.
Okay, and then, our website with the recent change in our IT site, I don't know if someone can add, Wright Hennepin's contact on power outages, and do we have Great River Energy on the north side? Is there some folks up there? It was a great public service announcement, XL Energy, call them. I know I've got my shortcut for Wright Hennepin, but others, they call me that their power out, and then like, call yours.
Yeah, I've gotten those too.
Yeah, we're planning on posting something.
Perfect.
Got them to reply to me on Twitter once.
I had some snow on my driveway.
Yeah, I'm just saying, everything that's happened up until this point, if it was that IT person doing that, thank them. If it was somebody else,
Communications.
let Aaron know. Outstanding, thank you. So Three Rivers, the Great River, and those are the two items. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? I'll just reiterate, like Jay said, up next meeting is the 11th at 7 o'clock, and the holiday food and toy, yeah, that drive parade is on the 9th, and hopefully not the 10th, and then we'll be done for the year. So, yeah. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn.